If bedtime feels more stressful than restful, you're definitely not alone. This is the Sleep Circle, where we test sleep tools, explore routines, and share what actually works. I'm Andy, and after years of dealing with chronic migraines and neck pain, I pay probably more attention than the average person to what makes the bed comfortable. Today, we're talking about the best dual heating and cooling mattress pads. I want my bedroom to be cold, but I also want my bed warm when I first get into it, which I realize is a slightly ridiculous combination. Basically, I want winter outside of the covers and July underneath them, only for about 15 minutes though, and then I want everything to change again. And look, I've always been a warm bed person. I still use an electric blanket, even when the air conditioning is running. My husband thinks this is completely backwards, and I don't really have a defense for it, other than I like getting into a warm bed. The problem is I don't necessarily want that same warmth 3 hours later. Have you ever gone to bed freezing, pulled every blanket over yourself, and then woken up at 2 in the morning with one leg hanging out because you're suddenly way too hot? That's me. Add another person who has completely different opinions about temperature, and one thermostat setting starts to feel like a pretty bad system. That's why I think the 8 Sleep Pod 5 is probably the best overall option here. It's a water-based cover that goes over your existing mattress, and each side can be controlled separately from 55 to 110 degrees. So my husband can have his side however he wants it, and I can have mine warmer, and nobody has to argue over the thermostat at bedtime. But actually, the separate sides aren't even the most interesting part to me. I've already got the warming the bed part figured out. What I can't predict is what temperature I'm going to want at 1 o'clock in the morning. 8 Sleep's autopilot can make temperature adjustments during the night based on things like your sleep patterns, previous temperature preferences, and the temperature in the room. And it does that separately for each sleeper. That's where I start to understand why someone would want to spend this much on a bed system. Because yes, it is expensive. A Queen Pod 5 is currently $2,999 before the required first year of autopilot, and the standard autopilot plan is currently $199 a year. So I'm not going to tell you that you need this because your feet get cold every once in a while. For me, it starts getting interesting when temperature repeatedly messes with your sleep, especially if you and your partner never seem comfortable at the same setting, or like me, what you want at bedtime is not what you want 4 hours later. It also tracks things like sleep stages, heart rate, and heart rate variability without making you wear anything. I like that because I don't necessarily need another device strapped to me reminding me that I was awake in the middle of the night. There is some maintenance because it's water-based. The newer pod systems use a maintenance insert that gets replaced every 6 to 8 months, and those replacements are included with an active autopilot membership. Not a huge chore, but still something I'd want to know before spending $3,000. Nobody wants to discover 6 months later that their bed has chores. ChiliPad is probably the system I compared it with the most because it also uses water, but it's a little more straightforward. It heats or cools from 55 to 115 degrees. You can get separate zones for 2 sleepers, and you can schedule temperature changes through the night. There's also a physical nightstand remote, which I have to admit I really like. I know that we can control everything with an app now, but that doesn't mean I want to. If I wake up with a migraine or my neck hurts, give me a remote. I don't want to find my phone and stare at another bright screen because I'm suddenly too warm. ChiliPad doesn't require a subscription either. I just be the one deciding when the temperature changes. 8 Sleep can handle some of that while I'm asleep, which honestly might work better for me because what feels comfortable at bedtime isn't always what feels comfortable a few hours later. BedJet gets pretty different because there's no water running through the bed at all. Instead, it uses air. The unit sits next to or underneath the bed and pushes heated or room temperature air from underneath the covers. For a couple, you can use 2 units with a divided cloud sheet so each person controls their own side. And if you just heard water circulating through my bed and thought, absolutely not, this is probably the one I'd look at. It warms the bed quickly and can help with that hot, humid feeling by moving air under the covers. The cooling is different though. It isn't chilling the surface underneath you to a set temperature, so I wouldn't expect it to feel exactly like 8 Sleep or ChiliPad. You also have to have 2 units and hoses with the dual setup. Is that a huge problem? No. Would I personally spend 20 minutes trying to hide all of it? Yes, I know myself. Then there's Perfectly Snug, which interests me mostly because it gets rid of the whole box and hose situation. The heating elements, fans, sensors, and controls are built into the topper itself. Queen and larger sizes can have separate controls for each sleeper. There's no subscription, and it doesn't have the same ongoing water system maintenance. My hesitation is the topper itself. I'm pretty particular about changing the feel of my mattress because of my neck, and Perfectly Snug notes that it can feel firmer at first. I can see the all-in-one setup being a big plus for a lot of people, but I'd just be a little hesitant to mess with my mattress setup that's already working for me. After going through all of these though, I keep coming back to 8 Sleep for one pretty simple reason. I don't really sleep hot and I don't really sleep cold. I do both. I want warmth when I first climb into bed, but I might want cooling later. My husband might want something totally different on his side, and what feels good at bedtime might not be what either of us wants a few hours later. So if I were spending the money once and I wanted one system I could use in a Michigan winter, and again when it's hot and humid in July, I'd choose 8 Sleep Pod 5. The price is absolutely the biggest downside for me, and I'd factor the autopilot membership into that decision too. But we spend about a third of our lives in bed, and sleep affects pretty much everything else about how we feel and function. So if temperature is regularly messing with your sleep, I can understand putting more money into solving it well. For me, I get more out of a system that can adjust with me during the night, more than one that I'm trying to guess my perfect temperature before I fall asleep. And if it can keep my side warm, keep my husband's side whatever he wants it, and take one more thermostat conversation off the table, I'm pretty interested. We're all about better sleep, one night at a time. Subscribe to the Sleep Circle and sweet dreams.